Hi, welcome to Men's Fellowship Adventures, and my name is Joseph. We've been talking about the first three books of Genesis. In Genesis 1:26, we talked about how God created us in his image, being us a spirit man. In Genesis 2, we received our body, which was made from the dust of the ground, and also God breathed into our nostrils the breath of life, which we inherited our mind, our wills, and our emotions. Now, over the past few sessions, we talked about how powerful your imagination is and how powerful your thoughts are. And the real problem is you got the devil, and he's doing things to make you uncomfortable in a lot of ways. Because the battle in this life is for your soul, it's for your mind and your will and your emotions. So the war between it's a war between your spirit, man, and your soul. And if you don't watch out, the devil will get a hold of you. Look at your daily habits. Now, how many times do you look at your phone? Now, if you notice, you're looking at the same thing basically all the time. And really, what you're looking at, it creates thoughts and images of the life that you're trying to live, because what you see, what comes in through your eyes, it imprints images on your mind for your subconsciousness or your subconscious mind to bring the past. So you spend all day thinking, based on the images that you're looking at, what kind of man or woman you want. And social media is not helping you, because you can flip on TikTok from this to that to this to that, and all of a sudden, you start daydreaming about the mate that you want, based on their looks. Look at that six pack, or look at the body on that, you know what I'm saying, or what kind of status they have. They got a beautiful Mercedes or a BMW or whatever. And, in your mind, you're thinking, man, I might look good driving this. Or you might think, oh my God, if I can only get some of that, these are tricks of the devil. Because what you do is, subconsciously you go fix yourself up and you look good, and you go to the club and you're expecting those images that you saw on social media and everywhere else that you're looking to be there for you. So you run into somewhere. You run into someone, and truth be told, that's where your nightmare begins. Let's say he grabbed your arm forcefully after he had a couple of drinks, or she buys the most expensive item on the menu. That's called like really disrespecting. Or how about if you start looking at somebody else lustfully? Just no good. These are actions that are inexcusable. But we, when because of the social media and all the other things that we're looking at or that we're putting in our eyes, we're making excuses for their behavior. And then you give them another try, and then it gets worse. Then you give them another try, and then it gets worse. And then you give them another try, and it gets worse. I mean, each time you give them a try, it gets worse. So the best thing to do is the first time something like that happens to you, let's say, somebody went like that because you wasn't paying attention. Hey, it's time to cut ties. I'll see you later. I don't want to be a part of you, because it only gets worse. And it's hard to, the dating process. You're flirting, and all these gooey goos are going across the air, and you're feeling that person. It's based on what you're thinking because of what you saw. In reality, when you're with her in a relationship, the best thing to do is to think about what you want. Hey, do you have a 20-year plan for what you're going to do with me? Are you going to get a job, or are you going to just work in a factory? Are you going to buy a house, or are we taking a bus? You got to think. And me personally, I don't like lies. So, I'm watching for clues. Here's what I want to do. Let's say you get that same pattern. You always get the wrong guy or the wrong girl over and over and over. Well, it goes to what you're selecting and how you're choosing. See, when you allow things to go to your eyes, you create this false sense of who somebody is just by the way they look. And that's really a pitiful shame that we allow ourselves to do that. So the best thing to do, and here's what I do. I'll sit down in a little meditative trance when I start thinking about who I want to be with. And then I start making a list. Lord, I want a woman that loves kids. Lord, I want a woman that, can get along with my mother. Lord, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that, etc. So I put a big list out there in the atmosphere because I'm speaking these things out loud. And so the next time somebody approaches me, I start looking at my checklist. Do you like kids? Is you think you're gonna get along with my mom? I put my mother on the phone right away. Mom, talk to her. I don't even tell my mother in advance. I just do it, and my mother get on the phone and have a conversation. I mean, because I'm checking out how the girl is, getting the phone, how she's acting before she talks to my mother, how she talks to my mother, and it's just one of those spirit of moment things that I do. And so after the conversation with my mother, I get to, evaluate her. And later on, after she's gone, I talk to my mother. And my mother gives me a critique about her. So, I got these little things in place that, helps me along. That little checklist helps. Because if you get with a guy, let's say, and he becomes violent, you have to stop it. Because if not, here you are. You're going to work with a black guy next week. And you're making excuses. You got sunglasses on in the middle of the night. That's not good. So you have to learn to cut. Just like when you hang around the wrong people that keep getting you in trouble over and over and over again, but you keep hanging around with them because you think they're going to change. What you see is what you get. Nothing changes. And the devil, he uses, these five physical senses that you have to convince you that the pleasures of sin is better than living a holy life. And believe me, I've had the best times in my life when I wasn't high, when I wasn't drinking, when I was natural. It's like the best natural high you can ever have. And believe me, when you wake up with a sound mind every day, that's balling. That's what you want. So after you make your list of attributes that you want, and you put your ticklers out in the atmosphere, and you go interview a few people, then naturally the right one will come, and that's when you take that person. But remember, we talked about the covenant. For a man, it's like having a ride and die. And I know, like, we've been beat down so hard in life. If you look at what's going on in the political world, the Republicans are doing things the Democrats don't like, and nobody's looking after the woman that don't have no place to go, and people are, taking, favor to dogs and animals over human beings that are homeless out there. This world is bad, but you can change it. Or I'll say this, your world don't have to be like that. And, because Bible says, do not conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So when you're thinking about your life, because it's about you. It's not about me. It's not about her. It's not about him, because you have to look yourself in the mirror every day. You're the one you have to live with. And so we talked about how God made your mind, your will, and your emotions. He made that for you to create your own world. And, you can create a world that you're the Al Capone, or Scarface. You're not going to live long like that. It's not a happy life to have to live over your back every time you do something. The best thing to do is to go legit, get a job, make it a career, get into a position where you make the decisions, because people, or I should say the company, employers, want to hire someone that will make sound decisions. I mean, you can push a wheelbarrow full of dirt all day long, but when you're in a position of decision making, then you get paid for your decisions. And that's how you work smarter than harder. And how you get there? When you're interviewing, you tell the boss. I mean, I might not be able to demonstrate too many examples of what I've done in the past, but if there was a fire in the break room, I'm the kind of dude that's going to put the fire out, evacuate everybody, and then call the fire department. What should I do next, boss? You see? So you create the world with what you think. Now, it's about you. What are you thinking about? Are you thinking that you can get a house? Or are you thinking, man, my credit is so bad, I can't get a house? Well, flip it. You know, if I can get a house, you can get a house. Anybody can get a house. You have to want the house. You have to put that in your imagination. You have to take steps. And when you're planning, plan for getting the house, not plan for, oh man, I can't afford it. No, you gotta, if you're $200 short, find a way to get a side hustle to get you that $200 so that you can get the house. And believe me, in this world, they treat you different when you own a house, especially if you look like me. Take note, if you went to the bank and you had a couple of $100 versus a couple of stacks, they treat you better. It's just the way we've been programmed in society. You have the haves and the have-nots. It's time for the have-nots to have so that everybody can be on the equal plane. And God is not a respecter of persons. It's about what you think about. Watch this. Our minds generate vibration that is constantly at work. So your thoughts and your feelings, they all have frequencies. It's just like in this atmosphere now, you can't hear the music. But if you had a receiver and turned it on, you'll be bouncing with it. Just like the sound and light that you hear from radio, the ultraviolet waves, your thought, it vibrates through the atmosphere. The electromagnetic forces are out there. And whatever you think about, there's a corresponding image that comes out of, when you think of a thought, whatever that is, it comes, it's gravitating towards you. So if you think of good thoughts, good things happen. If you think bad thoughts, bad things happen. That's why you want to think good thoughts and you create your world. So why not see yourself with a yacht or, a BMW if that's what your desire is, or a beautiful mansion? I didn't say a house. I said a mansion. You can have a mansion. You can have a plane. You can have whatever rocks your boat. But it starts with your thought. And your thoughts and your feelings, they all have frequency. And when you think about something with some emotion behind what you're thinking, even quantum physics, it shows you that those things will start coming to you. It's like, like the dude that gets dressed with his boys and he's in the bathroom thinking to himself, I don't know why I'm going because none of the girls will ever talk to me, right? So now he gets dressed, he goes with his boys, he gets to the club, see the beautifulest women in the world. And every time he starts to approach one, they laugh at him and walk away, or, they don't give him no respect because of what he thought and what he said. Now, you can flip that and, say, yo, I'm going to be all right. This is going to be a good party. I'm going to have fun. You see what I'm saying? And then, your boys pick you up. You go to the party. And then you're dancing all night. Everybody's talking to you. It's beautiful. You have fun because that's what you thought. Okay? So when you think about the Bible, in Adam and Eve, when Eve was deceived and Adam fell prey to it, Adam wasn't deceived. It was Eve. And, once God found out, he basically kicked him out of the garden because at that point, Adam's thoughts were filled with ill intent. And if he ate from the tree of life, Adam would have been living forever with sin. But God banished Adam from the Garden of Eden in Genesis chapter 3, and he put a cherubim, an angel, in a flaming sword to protect the tree of life. Now, there's a lot to discuss when we talk about angels, and I'm going to say this. You have an angel that will do your bidding for you. God said, see, I am sending an angel ahead of you to guide you along the way and to bring you to a place I have prepared. Pay attention to him and listen to what he says. Do not rebel against him. He will not forgive your rebellion, since my name is in him. And if you listen carefully to do what he says and do all that I say, I'll be an enemy to your enemies and will oppose those who oppose you. That's in Exodus 23, 20 through 22. So it's like last night I was laying around and I asked I put it in the atmosphere. I'm going to say I asked the Holy Spirit because I'm at a point where I'm making a website for a business and my creative juices flow all the time. But when I asked the Holy Spirit, I said, how do what should my web page look like? And here I heard an unction. I had an unction in me to go get my pen and my paper, and I started writing. And I'm like, that's it. And that's just how it works with you if you put it to work. But most people sit around and watch TV all day. They don't plan. Is that you? You don't plan? You don't have a plan? You're not going nowhere then if you don't have a plan. You remember, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know. 30 years later. Hey, what you say you wanted to be when you grow up? I don't know. You get what you think. You ain't thinking nothing. You ain't getting nothing. If you're not putting visions in your mind about succeeding and prospering and having a peaceful life, have a beautiful family, if you're not putting those images in your life, you're going to just run around with those poor, broke down. Let me stop it. I'm just trying to say, though, you make your world, and there should be no exceptions to, inviting someone in that doesn't fit in the plan. You understand? If they don't fit in the plan, get them out. That's it. Anyway, so God promised us 120 years of life. You can find that in Genesis 6. Now, most people remember that God said 70 or 80, and most people, that's imprinted in their mind so that when they get around 60, they're starting to feel like they're going to die. Then they go into the convalescent home and then hospice comes up. You can live to 120 years. And if I'm 120 years old, I still want to ride around in my whip. I still want to walk up and down and use my machines and everything else. And you can. It all depends on what you think about it. So God He promised us 120 years. I'm in my third quarter right now. But then there was Noah. In Genesis 6, God saw the wickedness of man and how bad it was on the earth. I mean, every imagination and every thought of man was only evil continuously. Now, when you're looking at porn, all you're thinking about is satisfying the lust of your flesh. When you're looking at all this, food, and if you're looking at all these, jewelry and cars and fancy clothes, and all you want is to get them, then you're satisfying the lust of the eyes. If you can't apologize to a little baby for a little kid for doing something wrong, then you got a problem with the pride of life. And if Eve was tempted with those three areas, and Jesus was tempted in those three areas, those are the only three areas that you have to figure out a way to put underneath your feet. Just like an alcoholic, in order for an alcoholic to stay sober, he has to quench those triggers that come. So he avoids triggers, and the more triggers he avoids, the better he's going to be. But if there's a trigger that comes his way, boom, there go that relapse, and he's down that road again. So if you got a man that was a drug addict or whatever, and you're fighting with him and fussing with him, it could be the trigger that makes him go out and do those dumb things that he did before he got you. You got to be careful. That's where conversation comes in. You got to talk about triggers. What, hey, baby, what would really make you go off and do something stupid? And if your mate is honest with you, they'll tell you. And when you find that out, try not to push those buttons. I mean, peace is beautiful in the house. But, when you get to turmoil and when there's drama everywhere, it ain't no fun. So God saw that the wickedness of men was great in the earth. Look at where we are now. You got wars in Ukraine. You got the Republicans, taking away the right for people to see the history of black Americans. You got, it's just bad. I mean, I can sit here and tear Arizona apart, but it's bad out there. And God sees it. It's not like he don't see it, and it's not like he's just going to let it go. So I just want to warn you, if you're doing bad, I suggest you repent and go 180 degrees the other way, and it will be better for you in your life. But if you don't, God is coming. Vengeance is mine, said the Lord. And he ain't slow. Anyway, God saw that there was evil all around the world, but there was Noah. Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. And I believe Noah found grace because, first, God had to have a man to keep the earth going. And out of everybody on this earth, Noah was the only one that reverenced him, that gave him glory and honor. You know what I'm saying? So God picked him. Yeah. And then there came the flood. And after the flood, we'll talk about maybe when I looked at the flood, and there's a scripture in Malachi that says, see if I will not open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing so much so that you won't have enough room to receive it. When I've researched that before, all of that blessing that God is giving you, it comes through your thoughts. It comes through your mind, your will, and your emotions. It comes through what you imagine. It's not like these preachers are saying, you can be rich every day. All you got to do is give me $150. I feel $150. God is talking to you to send me $150. Yeah, I heard that. I went to a church where a dude was like, I want all the men to stand up. All the men stand up all around the congregation, all around, all the men stand up. Now I want you to dig in your back pocket and pull out your wallet. And when you pull out your wallet, I want you to take out $20. Now y'all go around here, bring them baskets around, $20. I looked at them, I'm like, I ain't giving you nothing. Well, because when you give, you want to give out of your heart. You don't want to give because somebody's forcing you to give. That's like, hey, this is a sticker. Give me your money. I ain't giving you nothing. You see what I'm saying? Look, if you don't feel the urge or the need to give, then don't. But in order to receive, you have to give of your heart. You have to give your time. You got to sow words of goodness and kindness and gentleness. That's what it's about. It's about helping someone. It's about doing good things. That's sowing seed. It doesn't necessarily mean you got to give money. You got to give something of you to make someone. Look, on my birthday, I don't really tell nobody when my birthday is, but I'll go out and I'll just walk around and do my normal everyday chores. And somehow it always happens that God will send me to someone, man or woman, it don't matter, kid, whatever, and they're downcasted. They're feeling sad about something. And so after whatever God tells me to do, I do, and the person cheers up. I then tell them it's my birthday, and I have a good time. Yeah. Anyway, as long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night will not cease. So when you give of something, when you give and we talked about this before, when you work so hard and somebody else is not working, act like you're doing this for God. And if you're doing it for God, then God will reward you. And when God pay you, it's better than any check that you'll ever get. Trust and believe that. I just wanted to get with y'all today because I haven't been around for a minute. I've been working hard trying to, bring something that I saw during my studies with you into fruition. It's a business. I'm working on a website. I'm working on this, that, and that. And when it's all said and done, I'll be sharing it with you. But until then, we're going through the book of Genesis right now. We're in Genesis chapter 6 with Noah. Might not talk too much about Noah. I think we're going to go straight through to Abraham, and see how he was the father of many nations and how his faith laid the way for us to believe God even more. So remember, when you take your place in authority, it's easy for a woman to submit to you, and the devil will flee. Until then, my name is Joseph. Thank you for watching Men's Fellowship Adventures.